The Politics program is brought to you, as always, by thecontender.us. Folks, the Hamilton expansions are shipping today. If you have not already got them, then go ahead and get them now. They'll get out in the mail this afternoon. So go ahead and check it out. It is 14 cards, including taken from, inspired by the real people that inspired the famous musical, as well as one bonus Kellyanne Conway card, because, folks, we couldn't help but include a Bowling Green Massacre reference. Now, could we? Check it out. Only $10. Ships today if you go ahead and get the Contender Hamilton Mini Expansion. And by Patreon.com/JURY. Support this show the only way you know how. Go ahead and kick me a few shekels on over at the Patreon. Patreon.com/JURY. Supporting not only this show, but also my one mic show, Jury. But enough talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics.
Folks, I'm gonna blow the lid off this whole thing, man. I'm gonna blow the whole goddamn lid off, man. There's a lot of lids, but not after I'm done with them. Hell no, man. We're gonna do it. We're gonna. This is all gonna happen. This is all happening right now on this show. We are going to blow this whole Trump tax return thing wide open. Wide open. I have a conspiracy theory, and I believe I have found the proof to justify that everything that I am about to lay out for you is totally 100% accurate. The truth that I am going to give everybody watching live on Twitch.tv, watching live on DiamondClub.tv, listening to this via podcast, watching this on YouTube, is something that you will be telling your grandkids about. This is going to fundamentally alter the Donald Trump presidency, okay? That's the kind of level of mind-blowing information that I am going to lay bare for you. What does this entail? Well, first let me give you guys a little context. As you may well know, Rachel Maddow obtained Donald Trump's 2005 tax returns. Now let me give you guys a little context. The Internal Revenue Service is the revenue service for the United States federal government. The governmental agency is a bureau of the Department of the Treasury and is under the immediate direction of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, who is appointed for a 5-year term by the President of the United States. The IRS is responsible for collecting taxes and administering the Internal Revenue Code, the federal statutory tax law of the U.S. Its duty to maximize tax revenue entails providing tax assistance to taxpayers, as well as pursuing and resolving instances of erroneous or fraudulent tax filings. The IRS has also overseen various benefit programs and enforces portions of the Affordable Care Act. This is a major governmental agency, okay? This is a really big deal. I know a lot of you people are just allergic to context, and you don't just get to the news. Get to the news. You said you had a gigantic conspiracy that you were going to lay bare. I'm sorry, sheeple. The fact that you guys can't understand the larger picture is not my problem, okay? In fact, that's why we're in this mess to begin with. Let's begin with the history of the IRS during the American Civil War. In July 1862, during the American Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln and Congress passed the Revenue Act of 1862, creating the office of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue and enacting a temporary income tax to pay war expenses. The Revenue Act of 1862 was passed as an emergency and temporary wartime tax. It copied a relatively new British system of income taxation instead of trade and property taxation. The first income tax was passed in 1862, where the rate was 3% on income over 800, which exempted most wage earners. In 1862, the rate was 3% on income between 600 and 10,000 and 5% on income over $10,000. Keep that figure in mind, $10,000. And that year, 1862. Because here's what changes. In 1864, the rate was 5% on income between 600 and 5,000 and 7.5 on income between 5 and 10,000. Meanwhile, a 10% tax became levied on income 10,000 or above. Now, I want everybody to understand, because I'm already seeing it in the chat. I'm already seeing it on Twitter. Just get to the news, okay? We just did this with Rachel Maddow last night. She lit Twitter on fire. She said that she had Donald Trump's tax returns. Everybody tuned in. And then she spent the first 30 minutes of her show giving totally pointless context before leading to something that many considered to be totally overblown, if not damaging to the cause that she was professing to serve. And we will get into more context about that after this break of me reading Notorious B.I.G. lyrics in the voice of Rush Limbaugh. Now, the shit she kicked, Snurdly, all that shit's legit. She got some dick off a player from the New York Knicks. Ninny tricked ridiculous. That shit was plush. She's stressing me to fuck like she was in a rush. We fucked in his bed, quite dangerous. I'm in his ass while he's playing against the Utah Jazz. Well, I know, apparently he had a game, Snurdly. He's apparently playing the game. She's stressing me to fuck like I'm in a rush, Snurdly. I don't know. My 112 CD blast. I was passed. She came twice. I came last. Roll the grass. She giggles. Certainly, she giggles. Saying, I'm smoking on homegrown. And then I heard the moan, honey, I'm home. Well, I know. I mean, everybody in the drive-by media would have you believe that he was playing the game against the Utah Jazz. And then lo and behold, Snurdly, the moan, honey, I'm home. Yup. Tote the chrome for situations just like this. I'm up in his broad. I know he won't like this. Now I'm like, bitch. Snurdly, I said it. I told her. I said, bitch, you better talk to him before this fifth put the spark to him. Fuck around, shit get dark to him. Put a part through him. Lose a major part to him, an arm or a leg. We will be back with more rap lyrics on the EIB network. Thank you, everybody. Back to my major revelation here. I want to give a little context because, again, I'm seeing a lot of feedback right now that I'm not getting into this major world-changing conspiracy that I have obtained proof before anybody else in the media, before anybody else. I am going to take down Donald Trump, the president, on this podcast, on this live stream, but I can't do it without context, okay? I can't do it without explaining to you guys what all of this means, okay? So I just want to let you know that this is not a Rachel Maddow situation where I'm just going to read pointless context that might mean something to longtime viewers of this show, but yet for the larger audience that is here to have one specific piece of news spilled for them, I'm not just going to pointlessly drag this on for as long as the show will possibly bear, so I can just hopefully string you along to the very end, okay? This is not a Rachel Maddow situation, and I can give you context on that. Rachel Maddow was born April 4th, 1973, and is an American television host, political commentator, and author. She hosts a nightly television show, The Rachel Maddow Show, on MSNBC, and serves as the cable network's special event co-anchor alongside Brian Williams, okay? Disgraced Brian Williams. Her syndicated talk radio program of the same name aired on Air America Radio, now defunct, mind you. Maddow became the first openly gay anchor to host a major primetime program in the United States. She holds a doctorate in politics from the University of Oxford. When asked about her political views by the Valley Advocate, Maddow replied, "I'm undoubtedly a liberal, which means that I'm almost in total agreement with Eisenhower-era Republican parties." Now, again, we're going to bring you some further context here. Maddow was born in the Castro Valley of California. Her father, Robert B. Bob Maddow, is a former United States Air Force captain who resigned his commission the year before her birth and then worked as a lawyer in the East Bay Municipal Utility District. Her mother, Elaine Maddow, nee Goss, was a school program administrator. She had one older brother, David. Sorry, I'm just getting my bearings here. Her paternal grandfather was from an Eastern European Jewish family, the family's surname originally being Medowoff. Now, okay, a lot of you guys, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it so much here on Twitter. The question is, what does this have to do? What does this have to do with the world-changing news that you have promised us? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with the fact that you have promised this audience not only something that will fundamentally reshape American democracy, it will bring Western civilization to its very knees. Well, I can't do this without bringing you guys further context. Because I'm seeing a lot of angst out there. I'm trying to explain it to you, Rubes, okay? I'm trying to be an intellectual, all right? I know this isn't BuzzFeed, okay? A slideshow so I can get all my political opinions in 7 clicks, okay? This is not that. This is not the dumbing down of America. I'm seeing a lot of angst in the chat room. I'm seeing a lot of angst on Twitter. For the record, angst means fear or anxiety. The word angst was introduced into English from the Danish, Norwegian, and Dutch word angst and the German word angst. It is attested since the 19th century English translations of the works of Kierkegaard and Freud. It is used in English to describe an intense feeling of apprehension, anxiety, or inner turmoil. In German, the technical meaning of psychology and philosophy distinguishes between Angst and Furcht, in that Furcht is a negative for anticipation regarding a concrete threat, while Angst is a non-directional and unmotivated emotion. In common language, however, Angst is the normal word for fear, while Furcht is an elevated symptom. In other languages, mind you, in other languages, not English, having the meaning of the Latin word pavor for fear, the derived words means different in meaning. E.g., as in the French anxiété and peur. The word angst has since existed since the 8th century from the Proto-Indo-European root angst, restraint, from the High German Angst developed. It is precognate with the Latin angista, intensify tightness, and angor, choking, clogging, compared to the ancient Greek achio, to strangle. What does this have to do with my gigantic scoop that will shock the world? We're going to find out after this break, where Rush Limbaugh reads more rap lyrics. Well, Snurdly, yeah, I'm just saying, X gon' give it to you. Fucking waiting for you to get it on your own. X gonna deliver it to you. Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. It is. It's real, Snurdly. It is. With the nonstop pop of stainless steel. Go hard getting busy with it. But I got such a good heart that I'll make a motherfucker wonder if he did it. Damn right. And I'll do it again. I will. Snurdly. I mean, there's no doubt that I, the intellectual savior of the masses, I will indeed do it again. Because I am right, so I gots to win. Break bread with the enemy. But no matter how many cats I break bread with, I'll break who you sending me. You motherfuckers never wanted nothing but your life saved, bitch, and that's on a light day. I'm getting down like a ninny say, freeze. Snurdly, the ninny said freeze. I can't do much more than that. But won't be the one ending up on his knees. Bitch, please. It's the only thing you cats did was come out to play. Stay out my way, motherfucker. First, we're going to rock. Snurdly, we're going to rock. Then we're going to roll. Then we let it pop. Oh, let it go. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. X gon' give it to you. He gon' give it to you. We'll be right back on the EIB network. I want to bring everybody's attention. A lot of people are wondering right now. I'm getting a lot of feedback that we are now a solid. We're now a solid 20 minutes into this podcast, and I have not given any evidence as to what this world-changing conspiracy is that I am about to lay bare for everybody. And I know this is a little confusing to people, and really I think it's more of a commentary on our modern age of media. But I want to direct everybody that right now, if you don't know everything around this, then you will not understand it. If I just give this to you, then you will not know what to do with it. I need to teach you how to fish before you can bait the hook and do it yourself. A lot of people think that this is just me holding it in so I can delay it for as long as possible, and eventually I'm just going to poop myself. But I'd like to take everybody and please direct them to a February 4th, 2016 article by Stephanie Lee in greatest.com. How bad is it to hold your poop? She writes, and I'm going to quote here, "We can all agree that pooping is good for you. There are a few such universal and unequivocal truths in the health world, but the urge can sometimes come at the most inopportune moments. Perhaps you're in the middle of an important client meeting or a hot date or on an airplane and have a fear of letting it go in the sky. Totally reasonable fear, by the way." These are Stephanie's words, not mine. So what do you do for any rational adult? Well, you hold it in and you hope you can wait a little bit later. It can't be that bad, can it? To be honest, we can't believe that we're talking about this either, but somebody's got to ask the question, and we have answers. Wise words from Stephanie Lee. This is quite possibly the most important moment in American journalism. And now that I've explained all of this to you, hopefully for everybody that wasn't on Twitter last night, you can understand the frustration that went on when Rachel Maddow revealed Donald Trump's tax returns. 2 commercial breaks. 2 commercial breaks for Rachel Maddow. Just rehashing all this stuff that she's talked about before. Everybody's like, context, context, context. She eventually got scooped by the Daily Beast. Like, number one, she got scooped by the White House because they pre-released basically what she was going to say. And then the Daily Beast basically runs all the information that their own reporter published on his own blog because, by the way, he's got a book coming out. I do have a conspiracy theory. This wasn't all just me building it up. I do have a conspiracy theory, and it's totally insane, and I have literally no proof for any of this. Which is to say, it'll probably at least be more entertaining than Rachel Maddow holding up tax forms. Although, by the way, I'm pooping a lot on Rachel Maddow right now. I don't know if she could have handled it any different, with her show, the style of her show. It's not like she built this up for a week. It's only because it's Twitter that she announced it like an hour before and then came on the air. But you kind of knew it was going to be a nothing burger when MSNBC, they didn't break in with Rachel Maddow and then say, hey, I'm going to have more context and guests to talk about it later on this evening. She waited for her show to do it. So you kind of know it wasn't exactly like world-changing news. What's interesting about this is that almost immediately after she brings on this guy that says he got Donald Trump's 2005 tax returns brought to her, it just showed up in his mailbox, they immediately start speculating on where it could have come from. Specifically on the idea that it could have come from Donald Trump. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that they were insecure about their scoop. Because if they were not insecure about their scoop, they'd be talking about what's on the tax returns. But they couldn't. They kind of ran out of what to talk about on the tax returns fairly quickly, considering that the big, the punchline was given away by the White House about 2 hours before. So what else are you going to do except to suggest, oh, man, this came from somewhere else? In fact, this might have come from Trump himself. Which got me thinking. Here's my conspiracy theory. You ready for my conspiracy theory? Here's my conspiracy theory. I'm not going to give you any context. By the way, the definition of a conspiracy theory is... No. So we know... Should I do another Rush Limbaugh rap? We can do another Rush Limbaugh rap. All right. Yeah, here we go. I'm a hard stunting ninny like Evel Knievel. Jumping out of Lexus and Hummers, showing off for my people. Snurdly, I'm showing off for my people. I don't. Well, of course, I'm showing off for my people. After all, I'm the #1 stunner. What? The #1 stunner. What? Snurdly. What? Snurdly. I mean, gee, Snurdly. We know that right now, Donald Trump is in full deal-making mode. They've got a fairly unpopular on both sides of the aisle healthcare rebuilding bill, right? And Donald Trump reportedly called all the Republican congressional leadership into a meeting and said, we are getting something done on healthcare right now, and we are going to get it through, and then we are going to focus on taxes. That is the report. So it looks now like a lot of the conservative elements of the party are not exactly swayed by this ACA restructuring repair bill, whatever you're going to call it. And that Paul Ryan is the man who's right now holding the piss bucket. So here's my conspiracy theory. Man, I'm down here in this mailroom. All I keep seeing is Pepe Silva. Pepe Silva. Let's assume that that tax return was leaked to this guy. That means that the biggest talking point that came out of that media kerfuffle last night are two things. On the right side, the president paid $38 million in taxes. Who gives a shit? It's a higher tax rate than Hillary Clinton, higher tax rate than Obama, certainly a higher tax rate than a lot of business tycoons, up to and including Mitt Romney. Number two, on the liberal side, well, he would have only paid $5 million in taxes on $150 million earned if he did not pay the alternative minimum tax. That's what made him pay $38 million. And he has gone on the record as saying that the alternative minimum tax should be abolished. So if all I'm seeing right now is Pepe Silva, I could make the argument to say, oh, wait a minute. That means that Donald Trump thinks this healthcare thing is a punt for now. But he can't do it dry. He's got to have a little sauce around it, right? And if he's got a little sauce around it, what's the best way to do it? Number one, if the one side is doing nothing but talking about how much he did or did not pay in taxes, and specifically if the howling from the right, or sorry, from the left is going to be, oh, rich people don't pay enough in taxes. Having a $38 million figure out there is a way to shift the optics. Because what liberals want to do in tax arguments is focus on the percentage. They only pay X percentage. What conservatives want to do is focus on the number. They paid $1 jillion. So they made $1 zillion. They paid several $billion, whatever it is. They want that number, that raw, big, fat number out there. Liberals want the tiny percentage number. That's how they fight. So if you leak a tax return that you know is going to be fed on like a bunch of rabid dogs, where the percentage number isn't that bad, low, not that bad, and the big number is big enough that people are like, Jesus, I'm never going to make $38 million in my life, let alone pay it in taxes as a fairly low percentage of my salary. You've done a lot to kind of reframe the issue, and you've created a give back to liberal America. So if my Pepe Silva conspiracy theory is true, this is the next Trump move. You say, you want to know what? Healthcare, we can't get it done right now. We got to make sure that we get our house in order. We're going to let this bill crash, and we're going to start moving forward on taxes. Congratulations. Everybody's thinking about taxes. They're filing their taxes. Let's talk about taxes. You pay too much in taxes. Hi, it's me. I'm Donald Trump. I'm going to make your taxes lower. Wait a minute. Everybody now is talking about the alternative minimum tax. I've said, Donald Trump, I've said that the alternative minimum tax should be abolished. Well, guess what? Now I don't think that. Now I'm going to give that to liberal America. And now, based on the expectations that I've set up by mailing this tax return to this person, I have now created the system in which I can be a magnanimous leader by backing down on an otherwise obscure tax classification that nobody would have any fucking idea what it was before Rachel Maddow and whatever the fuck his dude's name was, who was bragging about how him and his wife made $400,000. Whatever that is, I have now created that system. So, that's my Pepe Silva conspiracy theory. Pepe Silva, by the way, for context, is a reference to Always Sunny in Philadelphia, wherein character Charlie Day was in the mailroom trying to figure out a conspiracy because he was misreading the phrase Pennsylvania. So there we go. Man, people were so mad last night. People were so fired up. People were pissed off, dude. I had two sides in my Twitter following. So I follow a lot of journalists. I know a lot of journalists. I follow a lot of journalists. All of them. News, give me the news. Give me the news, give me the news, give me the news. Why are you stalling? Why are you stalling? Why are you stalling? You don't have any news. Stop it. You're not giving me any news. You don't have any news. Shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm angry. I'm a journalist. I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm angry. Meanwhile, you got the Rachel Maddow stands. The Rachel Maddow stands were like, you don't get it. This is what she does. This is what she does. Well, the argument, I'm always going to probably see more of the journalist argument than I'm going to see the Rachel Maddow fan argument. The argument on the journalist side would be, but she doesn't always have big, gigantic headline news on her show. In which case, you should probably invert that pyramid. Basic facts, supporting facts, miscellaneous details. Basic facts. We have the 2005 tax return. It shows that he paid X amount percentage on Y% earnings, and we believe that there is a element here that proves that he wants to destroy the tax code for his own benefit. Supporting facts. This is how we found the tax returns. This is what we believe it should represent. Miscellaneous facts. All the Russian oligarch conspiracies. Because if you ain't got what you need to prove that, to further that story, well, in the words of Blazing Saddles, maybe we're all just jerking off. Sounded a little bit like Vince McMahon. Oh. I don't know, man. But then again, I don't know what I would do if I were in Rachel Maddow's position, because she's built shows on less stuff, right? You know, she has to do a nightly show. You got to pull whatever the hell you can out of the woodwork, right? And I'm not saying that she fabricates anything or blows anything out of proportion. I'm just saying you got to fill an hour, right? You can't fill an hour saying, hey, well, I don't know, everything's kind of the same. What's up? Did y'all see Get Out? I liked it. We'll be right back. First, we're gonna rock. Okay. I'll tell you what. We got a few more things to get to. That wound up running a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I'm glad I was able to go an actual 20 minutes. I was wondering how long I'd be able to stall. But that wound up going a long time. Hey, how about this? Let's go ahead and get into our Korean update, man. Everything broke loose in South Korea at the end of last week. The president is officially out. The impeachment was upheld, and now an election will be taking place on May 9th. Meanwhile, prosecutors have summoned the former president, now ousted Park Geun-hye, who was removed from office in a historic court ruling last week over a widening corruption scandal. Prosecutors said on Wednesday Park, the first democratically elected president to be removed from office in South Korea, would be summoned for questioning on Tuesday into the influence peddling scandal. Constitutional Court dismissed Park from office on Friday when it upheld a parliamentary impeachment vote in December. Of course, Park has denied any wrongdoing. And here, of course, is my favorite element. The Samsung Group, South Korea's largest conglomerate, is already embroiled in the scandal. And the Yonhap news agency said prosecutors had started investigating two other conglomerates, the Lot Group and SK Group. Samsung denies any wrongdoing. By the way, that wrongdoing includes horse meddling. Samsung, what are y'all doing out there horsing off? Illegal horse meddling, dressage fingering. That's what y'all are doing over there at Samsung. They deny it. If y'all have been following this, the reason why the former president of South Korea, now former president of South Korea, is in trouble includes her relationship with a current cult leader, former cult leader, and her daughter, who's a brat, who fled the country, who wound up getting picked up by the authorities and immediately narked out on her mom. So, South Korea popping off, and that means that we got a couple more weeks that we can start following all of the polls to see who is on top for that May 9th election. But before we do that, we do have another election, one that is going on right now. Right now. Folks, of course, I am talking about the Dutch. Yes, the Dutch have a problem. The Dutch are going to go to the polls. They're going to the polls right now. There's some controversial figures involved. But before we get the results, what do you say? You know, I'll tell you what. It sounds like the Dutch are the kind of place that would pick up on this, right? Yeah. Tell you what, I bet you their clubs probably are a little different. But I know that they'd be into this. Folks, this is a Dutch parliamentary election.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Yes, a final poll from INO Research. It shows that former leader in the clubhouse and anti-Islamic firebrand Geert Wilders, who was possibly emerging as the winner of Wednesday's Dutch election, has now begun to fade. Wilders' party is on track to capture 16 seats in the 150-member lower house of parliament. This is why we can't do European pole dances. We can't do European pole dances if you're not just going to give me random numbers. If I have to explain that it's out of a 150 member of the lower house of parliament, down 4 seats from a survey released just the day before. Meanwhile, an Ipsos survey before the election gives the Freedom Party 20 seats, a drop from 3 the last week. But both polls show Prime Minister Mark Rutte's Liberals gaining 3 seats to 27 and 29, respectively, making Mark Rutte's Liberal parties on track to hold the House. Yeah. We're going to go Dutch on this one. So I'm going to make my wife pay for half. There was a lot of stuff this week. You know, this election, Steve King, did y'all see this? Steve King. Let's pull up this Steve King tweet. Steve Quing decided to tweet out the following thing. Let's go ahead and take a look here. about this election. Wilders understands that culture and demographics are our destiny. We can't restore our civilization with someone else's babies. This comes from a quoted tweet from the V_of_Europe Twitter account, Voice of Europe. Hundreds of Islamists shouting Allahu Akbar in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Wilders is right for over 10 years. Turkijol. I don't know what that means. And included in there is a cartoon of Geert being the boy with his finger in the dike, holding Western civilization afloat against a graphically depicted, and that I don't mean like gross, I just mean depicted with graphics, overwhelming tidal wave of Islamicism over the wall. This is racist. Like, I'm not one to be like everything's racist. This is, I mean, like, I'm going to go ahead and be kind and say, you know, why don't you take a few plays off here, Brick? You know, we can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. Well, she must have been somebody's baby. Who sings that? Must have been somebody's baby. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Must have been somebody's baby. Maybe he's a Jackson Brown fan. Somebody's baby. Wait a minute. Maybe that's what Steve King was talking about. Meanwhile, Carlos Gurbelo of Florida writes, well, what exactly do you mean? Do I qualify as somebody else's baby? Hashtag concerned GOP colleague. Kind of wonder whether or not that's a really effective hashtag. Well, what else is here on concerned GOP colleague? Yeah, not exactly well trafficked here. The concerned GOP colleague hashtag. I mean, I don't know. Let's just all say, hey, I don't know. Jackson Brown seems okay, Steve. I'm not one to jump on these. That's bad. That's a bad one. At the very least, you need to reframe exactly what you said, because what you wrote reads, and granted, internet is the place where context goes to die, where tone goes to die, kind of reads a little comfy. Reads a little comfy. I'm just saying. Pull up a Nazi pillow, because you might be getting a little comfy. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get on into these emails. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com is where you can update the show with what you think. Send us your emails. Sean writes, there's been lots of talk about Democrats having a Tea Party-like movement. There have also been a lot of rich people talking about running for office. Cuban, Zuckerberg, etc. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Koch brothers finance the Tea Party? Are Democrats so holier than thou that they can't accept big financial donations to fund a myriad of candidates? How effective could a President Cuban be if he's up against a GOP-packed Congress? Where are our rich guys? Where are Warren Buffett's campaign contributions to elect candidates to raise his taxes? Well. So that's an interesting thing. Did the Koch brothers finance the Tea Party? Because this is where, and again, people get mad at me when I say that this is like deja vu all over again. But like, you know, that was the big conversation that was happening, was like, oh, the Tea Party's an astroturfed movement. Everybody's a paid protester. This is all just getting money from the Kochs. Now, far as I know, the Kochs do strategically put money into political causes. But a lot of it is more on they donate a lot to schools to fund, political programs that align with their political philosophies. I don't think that the Tea Party movement, as decentralized as it might have been, was as singularly funded by the Kochs in the same way that I don't think that the protests that are happening right now are singularly funded by George Soros. I think that that's an easy, if I might say, intellectually lazy justification that either side makes to just demonize or cheapen the grassroots nature of either protest. That being said, there are a lot of big money donors on the liberal side. George Soros is a big money donor on the liberal side. There's no real debating that. What would President Cuban do if he was up against a GOP-backed Congress? Well, you'd have to wonder if there's a GOP-backed Congress in 2020, because there very well might not be. There very well might not be a GOP-backed Congress in 2018, next year. We simply don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of questions as to where the Democratic Party goes. Tiny Brian says, Selena Meyer from Veep is a gender-bent Donald Trump. No, stop it. Selena Meyer was a career politician. If anything, she's a non-gender-bent. Well, who is Selena Meyer? She might be a more haphazard Hillary Clinton. I don't know. I mean, I think that she's. It's hard to pinpoint Selena Meyer because so many of her traits that makes that show so hilarious are kind of across the board. It's just sort of the distillation of venal. Look out for number one. Is this my good side? Cling to power no matter what. Climb the ladder no matter who you have to step on. Politician, right? Like, that's just who that is. It's why it's like my favorite show of all time. I love Veep. I love In the Thick of It. I love the Loop. Like, everything Anucci is the best. So good. Scale writes, so Trump would have won more if he had a vagina. This is Scale referring to the gender-bent NYU situation that happened, where NYU restaged the debates, or one debate, with a woman playing Donald Trump and a man playing Hillary Clinton. And according to respondents, and it's fairly evident when you watch it, the female Trump is like more compelling than the male Trump, the actual Trump. So Scale goes on, quite sarcastically. So Trump would have won more if he had a vagina? Okay. So having a vagina isn't a liability. Okay. So this whole, quote, Hillary lost because America is sexist, unquote, is bullshit. You don't say? Really? Well, I did not see that coming. Sarcasm switch is now permanently locked on. I really thought it was a glass ceiling thing. I mean, Lacey Green and Anita Sarkeesian told me so. And they are never full of shit. Can't turn off sarcasm, blood pressure rising. I mean, the left wouldn't ever use a bullshit idea, a bold-faced lie, even as a bludgeon to silence one half of politics. They just wouldn't happen. Blood pressure reaches critical. I mean, they wouldn't. I just night butt falls over and dies from a brain aneurysm. Okay. Let me break this down. Your sarcastic, if dramatically themed point is well taken. Scale. Number one, I want to say up top before and after anything else that I'm so excited that my buddy Lacey Green gets to be the first name check on this. Like, she's worked really hard. Lacey's a personal friend. I love Lacey. I'm glad that she gets that kind of heat. she gets co-billing with Anita Sarkeesian. She's been like, Anita Sarkeesian's been like the name of I'm upset with women commentators. I am very excited to see that Lacey is climbing that ladder. I am glad she's got that heat. Love Lacey. The point of that wasn't to say that this was a total deconstruction, that misogyny played no role in the election. At least that wasn't my point. Other people might have taken that point. Ultimately, I think that when you are put into a binary choice between the most unpopular person to run for president and the second most unpopular person to run for president, that it's going to be very hard to draw very clear lines as to why anything happened. And that the more we invest in, well, this proves or doesn't prove something, the more we tend to get ourselves in trouble. So let me say this unequivocally. There is no question in my mind that misogyny exists in this world. There is no question in my mind that misogyny is hardwired. I've watched it unfold my entire life. I was raised by a single mother who repeatedly, despite the fact that she outworked all of her male colleagues, was done nothing but put on the back bench. It is harder for women to get across in life. That's not universal. That's not to say that every man is a he-man woman hater. It's not to say that there is anything gigantic you can necessarily draw from that. But from my vantage point, I think that's fact. I think it's harder for a woman to run for president than it is for a man to run for president in general. Just two of the same people. They talk the same. They walk alike. They talk alike. Sometimes they even run for president alike. But one's a guy, one's a girl. I think in general, the girl, it's going to be a different path. Let's just leave it there. What I think we found out in that particular NYU situation is that Donald Trump was a far more effective communicator. Hillary Clinton was an ineffective communicator. And when you strip it of the context that we had, where people were so ginned up to not like Trump, again, historically the most unlikable candidate to ever run, and people were similarly very non-enthused with Hillary, but both sides were dead set on the other one not getting into the White House, that it kind of laid bare that a lot of Donald Trump's gruff, blustery, asshole antics came off as a lot softer coming from a woman than they did a man. So my point wasn't to say that misogyny doesn't exist. My point wasn't to say that a glass ceiling doesn't exist. But, again, let me just end on this. I'm excited. Like, I've known Lacey for a while, man. Like before she moved to LA, she was like one of the people we hung out with. It always makes me happy when my friends do well. Like, that's a great thing. She's got a Q rating. She's got a book coming out. I'm excited. Big shout out to Lacey Green. Ken writes, so if I were a Sith Lord and I knew that the WikiLeaks had a big drop about the CIA wiretapping the following week, I might tweet out the weekend before from my golden toilet that Obama found a way to penetrate my tinfoil hat, knowing the media just couldn't resist mocking the ridiculous president and his Jar Jar Binks style antics. After the drop, suddenly the president gains a little credibility and the media loses. And the whole time, nobody realizes that I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes like I'm Supreme Leader Snoke. Nah, the timing was probably a coincidence. Thoughts? Yeah, it was probably a coincidence. Although Supreme Leader Snoke is definitely Mace Windu. And finally, our angry email of the week. This one comes from Ryan. I got to get in my angry email voice. Hold on. I don't agree with your politics, but I always respected you for how you went about things with an unhealthy amount of bright-eyed optimism. Honestly, you always seemed really all about the acceptance and stuff. You wanted to make the world a better place. But for the last few years, it seemed like it's being pushed down our throats. Jerry, I ain't talking about you. Much like every M. Night Shyamalan movie, this email has a twist. I'm talking about the left. The left. That's pushed and pushed and pushed until conservative people feel the need to do something to protect their identity. As the former Australian Prime Minister said, this election is the revenge of the right. The left that forced political correctness down our throats so hard that Donald Trump was elected out of sheer spite and desperation. That part is speculation, but I think it makes for an interesting narrative. And now that he's in, you're calling people Nazis for wearing a Make America Great Again hat. I didn't realize that standing up for what you believed in was a Nazi thing to do. I mean, I suppose it technically is, but it's not exclusive to Nazis. And now, with all of the excess bullshit that's gone on post-election, it seems like the childish behavior of the left is just pushing people who aren't left-wing further to the right. I don't know, man. Feel free to throw in an F-bomb before every left. It might make it feel angrier. So there we go. That's an angry email from the right. I need more angry emails from the left. Where's my angry emails from the left? That's what I want to know. Of course, you can email in theyoungamerican@gmail.com. You can buy The Contender at thecontender.us. That's also where the Hamilton expansion is now shipping. Music provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. And, of course, follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter. Download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you leave a review and rate the show. Till next time, some people talk about politics, others talk about politics, still more talk about politics. This is the only show that talks about all three. I will give you guys more context next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.